Hello, and welcome back to Small Screen Stories. This is the daily show where I go over the news of the day in the world of entertainment and pop culture. So that's movies, TV shows, occasionally video games, and even more occasionally, comic books. So today, there's been an awful lot of stuff go up on the website today. There's been a lot of news, and I just wanted to go over it with you and kind of give my thoughts and also maybe get some of your thoughts in the comments. I'm Edward Lauder. I'm the editor of Small Screen. And let's just get straight in with the first big news of the day. And that's that the Fast and Furious franchise is going to end after 2 more movies. So that means we're going to get Fast and Furious 9, which is coming out supposedly next year, and Fast and Furious 10, and then Fast and Furious 11, which is kind of interesting because this is a movie franchise that has been around for an awful long time, and it's kind of changed drastically over the course of its time with us. It started off as this kind of B movie, kind of quirky car movie, basically, with Vin Diesel and Paul Walker in it, and now it's kind of become like the car version of the Avengers. It's like I often call it a telenovela because I actually think it is very much in line with telenovelas because ridiculous stuff happens in it. But it's kind of like a superhero franchise now. The stuff they do in cars is just utterly ridiculous. It's really good fun though. The other part of this news is that Justin Lin is in talks to direct the next 2 movies. He's directing this one, and he's directed a couple prior to Fast and Furious 9, or F9 as it's being called in the US. So this is kind of sad, but also kind of, I suppose it can only go on for a certain amount of time, really. I mean, 11 movies in a franchise like this is massive. You do wonder what Vin Diesel is going to do next, because this is his big franchise. What's going to happen with the Hobbs and Shaw spin-off movies? Are they going to continue? Because it seems to me that those movies, or that particular part of the Fast and Furious franchise, might end up overtaking the main Fast and Furious movies, which would make Vin Diesel very furious, because of course there was a very public kind of falling out between Vin Diesel and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Apparently they're all okay now, and they're going to be working together again. Also, who knows who's going to be in these last 2 movies? I mean, is Dwayne Johnson going to be in it? Is Jason Statham going to be in these last 2 movies? Are they going to bring back Gal Gadot, who was in one of the movies? I can't remember which one. There are so many. She was in one of them. She was killed off. Will they bring her back? They're often bringing back kind of people from the dead. I mean, it looks like Fast and Furious 9 is going to bring back some characters from the dead as well. So it's just one of those movie franchises that's been around with us for such a long time, but has also kind of constantly reinventing itself. So maybe this is like that movie franchise ending with the Fast and Furious movie franchise, but then the Hobbs and Shaw franchise kind of taking off. Who knows what's going to happen? It's a massive money spinner for Universal, so I'm pretty sure they'll want to keep it going. But it's just one of those stories. What do you guys think? Are you sad to hear about this? Are you kind of think, I don't really care? Do you think it's the right time to end it in 2 movies? We are still getting kind of, if you count Fast and Furious 9, we're still getting 3 movies. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Moving on. Onto our exclusive of the day, and that's that we were told by sources that Caleb McLaughlin from Stranger Things is in talks to star as Static Shock in the DC Comics movie. This was pretty kind of like massive news for me, because I'm a massive Static Shock fan. If you haven't watched, I kind of grew up watching the cartoon, the animated series, and then that brought me into the comic books. But it's all about a guy called Virgil Hawkins, and he offers something really different for the DC Comics kind of movie universe. He's this is in the animated series. He's a 14-year-old kid, and he lives in Dakota City, and he ends up kind of joining a gang, and then there's this accident at a chemical plant, and some chemical containers explode. It releases a gas, and then the gas causes the people there, including Virgil, to have mutations. And Virgil's main mutation is that he can now absorb, create, generate, and control electricity, and also magnesium. He's also magnetic. That's the other thing he is. And he decides to become a superhero and call himself Static. But it's kind of like quite a gritty, well, not gritty, but it's what's the right word? I suppose that is the right word. It's kind of more stripped back. It's fun. I think it's really, really fun. I'm struggling to think of the word. There is a word that I want to say, but I'm struggling. But it's a really kind of fun and almost Spider-Man-like type of. I know it's not probably that good to compare it to Spider-Man, but it's that kind of version of the character. He's young, he's vibrant, he's energetic, he wants to protect his part of the city. It's very much that. It's very much set in Dakota City, and it's all about that. And it's like, and also he feels kind of great guilt because of his past and where what he was doing there. He was part of a gang, and it's like he's also having to deal with supervillains that were created in that accident, because a lot of the others involved in that accident also got mutations and became metahumans, and I think they were known as the Bang Babies, I think was what they were called. But the whole thing was referred to as the Big Bang when a load of people got superpowers. A bit like in the Flash in the TV series, a bit similar to that. But anyway, according to our sources, the DC, apparently, Caleb has been in talks with Warner Brothers to star. He's actually apparently sent in an audition tape, and they were really, really, really impressed with it. So I've got some quotes from the sources here. Again, I always ask them if I can quote them directly, and if they say yes, then I do. If they don't, then I don't. If they say no, then I don't. There are a bunch of actors being considered, but I can confirm that the one leading the pack is Caleb McLaughlin. He sent in an audition tape for the role, and everyone's talking about it. Very impressive. Then a separate source from this first one said that Michael B. Jordan and Reginald Hudlin, who's kind of Michael B. Jordan is the producer of this movie. It was announced a couple days ago. Are apparently very impressed with his audition, and they want to take it further. So there are a couple of people that are in the loop that they're talking about, but apparently he is at the front of this pack, and there's a very strong possibility that he could end up being cast as Virgil, aka Static in the Static Shock movie. And I think he'd be really good for the role. I think he's a really, really good actor. He's kind of starting to be in more things now. He's kind of going beyond Stranger Things. He's become very famous off the back of that, but it's a very talented actor in his own right. And I'm pretty sure he wants to expand and become, more than just the guy from Stranger Things, which is also always kind of a danger for younger actors. They kind of become typecast, and this would really, it's a superhero role. Who doesn't want a superhero role? So I think it's really interesting. That's why I ran with it today. And let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think Caleb would make a good Static Shock? Do you think he's right for the role? Who else do you think could play Static Shock? Apparently there are people in contention. He's one of them. And let me know in the comments below. Right, moving on. So the next story is all about the Batman. So when it comes to Batman, it's kind of, if you ask someone when do these Batman movies take place, so if I were to ask you when did the Christopher Nolan Batman movies take place? What year? It's actually quite difficult to give an answer. It's very, very difficult with the Tim Burton Batman films, because they kind of take place in their own universe, and there's no real date you can give to that. You could probably say it takes place in like the 80s maybe, but not really. It's kind of very different to our world. Yet it seems as though, and this is after a tweet posted by comicbook.com's Brandon Davis, that the new Batman film, Matt Reeves' The Batman, is actually going to take place in the present day, more specifically in 2019. So I'll get the tweet up. Here it is. So for some reason it's not coming up now, but here we go. Sorry about this. Yeah. So according to Brandon Davis, you can see here, this is a picture taken on a taxi cab on the set of The Batman. This was in Chicago. And you can clearly see there that it says 2019. And I'll take us away from that. And that, to me, is kind of quite interesting for multiple reasons. But one of the main ones is that it actually gives a date to when this Batman movie is going to take place, which is, I think, quite good. But also it means that this Batman, that Robert Pattinson's Batman, is actually going to be in a world that we will recognize as basically our own. And also it means that his technology will be very similar to the technology we have here and now, which is something that's never really been the case with the Batman films. They're kind of, I mean, I suppose you could say like the Val Kilmer and George Clooney ones were kind of in a world that we could recognize, but also not really. But like, take the Christopher Nolan Batman films. Those films, it's like the stuff that Batman has in in those movies. The tech is just ridiculously kind of advanced and stuff. I mean, we probably do have it here, but it's, you know, it's not overly believable. Whereas all the stuff that we've seen, like we've seen the Batmobile in Matt Reeves's Batman and the bike, and they look kind of just cool, but quite kind of normal. It's like they're not like, he's not going around in the thing that Christian Bale's Batman was going around in. You know, that it's not that level, and I quite like that because it means that this movie is probably going to be quite stripped back, which is something that to me sounds quite interesting. This is also rumored to be set in the second year of Bruce Wayne's time as Batman, so basically year 2, which is a comic book that you should also read. It's a really interesting comic book, and that also means that we're going to get kind of a raw version of Batman. It probably also means that we're not going to get Robin in this movie, which, to be honest, isn't a bad thing. But what do you guys think about this? Are you excited for the Batman? Do you think Robert Pattinson is the right man to play Bruce Wayne, aka Batman? Let me know in the comments below. Right, moving on. This is kind of the not weirdest news of the day, but the most kind of left field news of the day, is that we're getting a Willow TV show. It's it's one of those things that it's kind of been rumored for a while. Like Warwick Davis has been talking about this, not non-stop, but he loves to talk about Willow. Of course, he was the lead in the original Willow movie, which was directed by Ron Howard and produced by George Lucas. And apparently, it's going to be directed by Crazy Rich Asians director, blanking on his name, John Chu. And according, there are a bunch of statements released about this. I won't read them all here, but it's happening. And Kathleen Kennedy actually specifically said that the reason they're doing this is because his pitch was so good. The idea that he came to them with was so good. So it's got Ron Howard as a producer. He's not directing it. And it's the pilot episode is going to be written by Jonathan Kasdan, who wrote the Solo movie that came out relatively recently. And according to John Chu, he was a massive fan of Willow growing up in the 80s, and it profoundly affected him. And it's something that he kind of took not just inspiration from, but also he felt that there was a connection with Willow for him. So it looks like this is going forward. There's no news on how long this series will be or when it will be with us, but they're doing it. It's going into production. And Lucasfilm and Disney, they can do these things pretty quickly now. So it looks like that Lucasfilm's going to be focusing, or not focusing, but also developing things aside from Star Wars, which is actually quite interesting because it's really been Star Wars centric over at Lucasfilm. So I quite like this news because it means that they're thinking beyond Star Wars, which is good news, I think. Let's tell other stories that aren't in the Star Wars universe. You know, Lucasfilm is a very talented studio, and they can do lots more things other than Star Wars. So I'm happy for. I'm really happy about this. I'm also happy for Warwick Davis because he's going to be the lead in it again, and he's been wanting this for a long, long, long time. What do you guys think? Are you guys excited for a Willow TV show on Disney Plus? Let me know in the comments below. Right, moving on. The Boys creator has explained why he believes the MCU is dangerous. So, if you've been watching The Boys is really fascinating and quite gory. It's really really good. It's an Amazon Prime show. It's brilliant. It's something that I think everyone should be watching. Full disclosure, I haven't finished season 2 yet. I'm still trying to get my way through it, but it is really really good. And its showrunner, a guy called Eric Kripke, was talking to The Hollywood Reporter. And during this conversation, they kind of course, got onto the onto superhero movies, which is The Boys is kind of the antithesis to superhero movies. It's one of those things. It's like what would it be like if people decided, you know what, we don't want these superheroes, also known as soups in the show. Let's just get rid of them. Let's kill them. And that's like the pitch. That's the as they say in America, the elevator pitch to this show, which was based on a comic book series called The Boys by Garth Ennis, who also wrote the Preacher. Sorry. And anyway, Eric Kripke told The Hollywood Reporter, "It's a little bit dangerous to train an entire generation to wait for someone strong to come in and save you. That's, I think, how you end up with people like Trump and populists who say, I'm the only one who can come in. It's going to be me." And I think, by the way, that pop culture conditions people subtly. I think it's conditioning them the wrong way because there's just too much of it. So I think it's nice to have corrective, at least a small one in us, to say they're not coming to save you. Hold your family together and save yourselves. So it's actually, I really like that quote because it is true. It's like nowadays we've got so many Marvel, DC Comics superhero movies. There are loads of them coming out now, and it's kind of too many. It's like one of those things. And people, I mean, I look at what's happening in the United States, for instance. Look at what's happening in Russia as well, and places all over the world where there are populist leaders. There is an element of that, and superhero movies don't help. That they condition people to think that they will be saved by a powerful, strong leader. But it's also something that's happened throughout history. So I don't think you can blame superhero movies really for that. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but I do understand what he means. It's just one of those things that he's of course he's kind of promoting his own show, which is like all against that. So I do understand where he's coming from in that respect. And I also understand what he means, but I do think it's a bit of a stretch to claim that superhero movies are conditioning people to think that they'll be saved by powerful leaders. People don't think they're going to be saved by superheroes because they don't exist. So in our world, that's the truth. But what do you guys think of this? What do you guys think of The Boys? Also, let me know in the comments below. Right, moving on. There was a trailer today for Raya and the Last Dragon, and that's Disney's new movie, which is coming out next year, and it's you got to watch the trailer because it's so good. Full disclosure, the trailer gave me chills. It's one of those. I'm a big fan of these Disney animated movies. I think they're really good fun. And I really liked Moana. I love the Pixar films, but these are aside from Pixar. These are actually developed by Disney themselves. It's a different studio. It's being directed by Don Hall and Carlos Lopez Estrada, and Raya is voiced by Kelly Marie Tran, who was in the Star Wars movies and famously got bullied off Instagram, which was really ridiculous. It's an example of fandom just going completely berserk. She had nothing to do with the direction the character took in that movie in The Last Jedi. People really did not like her character in The Last Jedi and took it out on her, which is something that you really shouldn't do. But she's back working for Disney again, and she's voicing this character. And judging by the trailer, she's like a really badass princess. Like it's something. It's kind of in the same, slightly similar to a Moana, but she's actually a guardian of a gem, and she goes in search for the last dragon, who is actually voiced by, I can never say her name. I think it's Awkwafina, but I probably said that wrong. But yeah, the dragon's called Sisu, and she's voiced by Awkwafina, who's actually going to be in the Eternals, I believe. But do go and check it out. The trailer is on YouTube. It's also on small screen if you want to go and check it out there. It's really, really good. This movie looks like just so much fun, and I'm really excited to see it. Hopefully it'll come out in cinemas. If not, it might end up coming to Disney Plus. But let me know what you guys think of Raya and the Last Dragons trailer in the comments below. I'm moving through these pretty quickly because there's a lot of news to get through tonight. And this next bit of news is something that I really did not see coming. So apparently, Entertainment One is in the process of developing a new Power Rangers cinematic and television universe. So apparently we're going to get a whole load of new movies and TV shows all centered around the Power Rangers. So think back to 2017, we got a Power Rangers movie that didn't do particularly well at the box office, but it did have, I mean, I'm going to be like, again, full disclosure, I actually really enjoyed this Power Rangers movie. I grew up watching Power Rangers. I grew up watching a lot of stuff that, I probably shouldn't have, but Power Rangers was fantastic. I thought it was a really great show. But there are lots of different ones. I was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the whole way through. But according to Collider, Jonathan Entwistle, who's the person behind I'm Not Okay With This and The End of the Fucking World, or The Effing World on Netflix, he's the one that's going to be in charge of all of this. So think of him as the Kevin Feige of the Power Rangers cinematic and television universe, which is kind of mad, like, that they're doing this. But I love the fact that they're doing this because we need something a bit different, and there hasn't been enough Power Rangers. The 2017 movie was a dud as far as box office was concerned. It did star Dacre Montgomery, who is brilliant in Stranger Things, and Naomi Scott, who's a really fantastic actress. They've gone on to do bigger and better things since then. It's not quite clear at the moment whether these new TV shows and movies will tie in with that movie, but I think not. I think this is going to be a clean slate, and they're just going to do something completely different. They do this a lot in the Power Rangers universe. They often just restart it and come up with a new TV show that's completely different to the one that came before it, and that's why it gets a bit confusing. But according to them, they're all really excited for it, and it's something that, Entwistle said in a statement, "This is an unbelievable opportunity to deliver new Power Rangers to both new and existing generations of awaiting and adoring fans. We'll bring the spirit of analog into the future, harnessing the action and storytelling that made this brand a success. I'm looking forward to working with the teams at E1 and Hasbro, which is the company that owns Power Rangers. Together, we can't wait to share more Power Rangers with the world very soon." So there was like a rumor back in 2019 that Entwistle had signed on to direct a Power Rangers movie. Apparently he's going to direct all of these movies and TV shows. That's the news. It was also revealed that the writer of Peter Rabbit 2 was working on a script, and that the script saw the Power Rangers travel back to the 1990s and then have to return to their own time. It's not known yet whether this script is the script they'll go with for the movie or the TV shows. Maybe not. Maybe they're working on other stuff, but who knows? Are you excited for this? Are you excited for a Power Rangers cinematic universe? I like that. I think that's quite cool. But let me know in the comments below. Right, moving on. Jamie Foxx is doing another Netflix movie. Yeah, he just, it was a couple of months ago, we saw Project Power released on Netflix. He's doing another Netflix movie. This one's going to be called Day Shift, and he's going to be a vampire hunter in it. And it's coming from one of the directors of John Wick. I can never say his last name though. Chad Stahelski. I think I'm saying that right. I don't know, but he was one of the co-directors of John Wick, and then He's gone on to direct a whole load of other things, but he's going to be the producer of this movie, and it's actually going to be directed by a guy called J.J. Perry, who's actually quite famous in his own right. This is his This will be his directorial debut, but he worked before as a second unit director and a stunt coordinator. So this will be the second time that we've seen one of the people kind of involved with like a John Wick movie or an Avengers movie make a Netflix action movie. Extraction, I'm blanking on the director's name now, which is really annoying, but he worked on the Avengers, and I believe he worked on John Wick as well. I'm not 100% sure on that. But anyway, Perry has worked on Fast and Furious 9, the Fates of the Furious, Bloodshot, and also the John Wick franchise. So he's someone that's really familiar with stunts and has obviously already directed. But if you're a second unit director, you're basically already a director because you're directing scenes. You're put in charge of scenes that, sometimes the director's not even on set and the second unit director's the one directing the whole thing, running the whole show. So I'm pretty certain that this will be actually really good. I wasn't a massive fan of Project Power, I'm going to be honest. I thought it was a bit boring, I know, but this actually sounds quite fun. First, okay, so the whole thing is centered around Jamie Foxx's character, who's trying to provide a good life for his 8-year-old daughter. He always has a daughter in these things. And he has a pool cleaning job, which is actually a front for his real business, which is hunting and killing vampires. So it sounds quite pulpy, which I like the sound of this. I like these sorts of films. They're completely up my street. But what do you guys think? Is this something that you'd be interested in watching? Let me know in the comments below. Right, moving on. There's some more news. So one of my favorite's quite a strong word, but I really, really liked this movie. It came out in 2015, and it's a movie called The Man from U.N.C.L.E. It's directed by Guy Ritchie. It's starring Armie Hammer and Henry Cavill, and I thought this film was just brilliant. Yeah, it didn't do very well at the box office. It actually didn't do very well with with critics for some reason. People just didn't really like the film. They thought it was a bit, I don't know why they didn't like it. I'm going to be honest. I thought it was a really good spy thriller, and it was the film that I watched and remember watching and thinking Henry Cavill has to play Bond. He just looked so good in that film. But Armie Hammer has actually recently he was talking to Collider again about the possibility of A Man from U.N.C.L.E. 2, and he loves the idea. During this interview, he said, I would do another Man from U.N.C.L.E. in a heartbeat. Like, in a heartbeat. If someone wrote a really good piece of fanfic, I'd narrate it. If someone wrote an extremely good piece of fanfic, I would make sure that it got to Guy and Lionel Wigram, who's the producer of the film, and be like, you guys need to read this, then give this person a co-writing credit, because let's just get this movie made, let's just do it. And hearing him say that, it makes me excited, but also it's kind of slightly annoying because I don't think it's ever going to happen. I don't think they're ever going to be able to get everyone on board because the first film just didn't do very well at the box office. So is the demand there for A Man from U.N.C.L.E. 2? From people like me, yes. I know a lot of other people that really like the film that would really love to see A Man from U.N.C.L.E. 2, but it's kind of, I just don't think it would do well enough at the box office. I don't think a movie studio would be like, you know what, yeah, let's go for it. Because maybe like on a Netflix or something like that, but I don't know how the rights would work out. I think that might be a bit complicated. And I'd love to see Armie Hammer, Alicia Vikander, and Henry Cavill all back to be in A Man from U.N.C.L.E. 2 directed by Guy Ritchie, because I actually think it's one of Guy Ritchie's best films in a long time, although I did really like Aladdin. Yeah, I did really like Aladdin. And also, apparently, The Gentleman's really good. And I haven't seen The Gentleman, but apparently that's really good. But it's one of those films that it's like, you can just tell from the very beginning that it's made by Guy Ritchie. It's got that Guy Ritchie sheen all over it, which is kind of, sometimes it can get a bit, I don't really want to watch this anymore. Like Rock and Roller, I didn't think it was fantastic. But when it works, it really does work. And I think A Man from U.N.C.L.E. 2 would be great. But what do you guys think? Would you like to see A Man from U.N.C.L.E. 2? Let me know in the comments below. So there are a couple more stories. The last couple of stories are a bit more rumorish because that's just how the news cycle works. There are lots of rumors out there about things happening. The next story is all about Marvel movie fans. Well, this is not so rumorish, but apparently, according to comicbook.com, the Marvel movie fandom is desperate to see Charlie Cox return as Daredevil in Spider-Man 3. So, I've been talking a lot about Spider-Man 3 over the past couple of days because there's been quite a lot of news about Spider-Man 3. It was reported by various different people, by Fandom Wire, by Popcorn Planet, that Spider-Man 3 would feature Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. I wasn't told this. I was told that they've signed on, but for a future movie. I mean, who knows? But apparently, according to comicbook.com, fans really want Charlie Cox to turn up as Daredevil in Spider-Man 3. We already know that Spider-Man 3 is going to feature Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. It's going to feature Jamie Foxx as Electro. It's going to feature Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Zendaya, the usual cast. But already, if you add Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield to the mix, it's already pretty full. Imagine what it would be like if you add Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock or Daredevil into the mix. It's going to be very, very full. The thing is, having him involved in the movie would make so much more sense than having the Garfield and Maguire's version of Spider-Man. Because we know from the end of Far From Home that Peter Parker is going to be in some legal difficulties because he's been outed as being Spider-Man by J. Jonah Jameson, and which was a fantastic end, by the way. It was such a good ending. And the beginning of the movie could very easily be like a courtroom drama. It's like that would be. I think that would be quite interesting, having a Marvel movie. We've already seen courtroom things happen in Marvel movies before. Like Tony Stark was involved in a very small kind of. Was it a courtroom proceeding? I don't know, but there was that sort of scene was done before. But this would be different because this would be, in my mind, it would be Peter Parker trying to clear his name, and Matt Murdock would be his lawyer, and Matt Murdock would be played by Charlie Cox. I love this idea. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't think it will happen because Kevin Feige has made it very clear that he just wants nothing to do with the Marvel Netflix shows. Therefore, the next versions of Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, we're going to get Jessica Jones, hopefully, are going to be played by other actors. We already have seen Mahershala Ali is going to be playing Blade, and he, of course, was the villain in Luke Cage. Brilliant villain, killed off way too early, by the way. So it's something that I would like to see as well, and I can understand why fans really want to see this happen, but the fact of the matter is, I don't think Kevin Feige would let it happen. I don't think he's interested, which is sad. It is kind of, I mean, personally, I would love to see it happen, but I just don't think it is. Sorry, guys. What do you guys think? Would you guys like to see this happen? Again, this is just my opinion. I am just speculating, but this is based on knowledge of Feige and things he's done in the past, and the fact that he's already planned out the next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Is Charlie Cox going to be part of that? I don't think so. I don't think Daredevil's going to be part of that. I think he'll be probably further down the line, hopefully. You really do hope that they'll bring in Daredevil at some point because he's such a great character. And also he has links to Spider-Man, and I think it would work in a Spider-Man movie. But whether or not they do it, we're going to have to wait and see. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. So this next story is a rumor, and it comes from We Got This Covered, and they are claiming that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson really wants to bring Tom Cruise into his Black Adam movie. But specifically, they claim that it's a sequel that he wants to bring him in for. Again, this is a rumor. It's kind of a bit ridiculous because imagine a movie starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Tom Cruise. It would be two basically headline actors in one DC Comics movie. That'd be really expensive as well. But Tom Cruise at the moment is very busy doing his Mission Impossible movies, so will he have the time? I think so. And also, who would you cast him as? So I was thinking about this, and I was like, well, there'd been lots and lots of rumors that he was going to be cast as Green Lantern, specifically Hal Jordan. And personally, I actually really like that idea because I think he'd make a really, really good Hal Jordan. And I like the idea of a Green Lantern movie in which he is like the older Green Lantern, and he's kind of having to mentor John Stewart, and John Stewart would then become the next Green Lantern. I quite like that idea. I like having both. The idea of having both Hal Jordan and John Stewart in one movie. And I like the idea of Tom Cruise playing Hal Jordan. I think he's one of the actors that could do a very good job. The problem is I don't think he's interested. I also think he's quite expensive. And I think the DC Comics kind of movie universe already has... already having Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson play Black Adam is a big deal because he's a big name, but he's also quite pricey. Yet the other characters, they're played by, I suppose you do have Ben Affleck playing Batman, you've got Robert Pattinson now playing Batman and stuff like that, but I just see Tom Cruise as the kind of actor that wants to make everything, I know this probably sounds quite bad, but he likes to be in control. And I don't know whether Warner Brothers would really be okay with that. I think there would be a power struggle. And I especially think there'd be a massive power struggle if you have Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Tom Cruise in one movie. I just think that's too much. That's too much kind of man actor. I don't know. I just don't think it would work. But I do love the idea of Tom Cruise being cast as Hal Jordan. What do you guys think? Would you guys like to see Tom Cruise in the DC Comics universe? Would you like to see him in a Black Adam movie? Let me know in the comments below. So, the final news, the final bit of news today is to do with something I discussed actually a couple of days ago, probably yesterday actually, is that it's all to do with Chris Pratt and him being cancelled, or people trying to cancel him on Twitter. And actually today, his Marvel co-star and colleague and friend, Robert Downey Jr., came out in support of Chris Pratt. He actually posted on Instagram a picture of him with Chris Pratt filming what I believe to be Avengers Infinity War. Avengers Infinity War. And he was basically he sounds really pissed off. I'm going to say he's very pissed off with people online trying to cancel Chris Pratt. And I'll put it up. This is what he said. He said, "What a world. The sinless are casting stones at my brother, Chris Pratt, a real Christian who lives by principle, has never demonstrated anything but positivity and gratitude, and he just married into a family that makes space for civil discourse and just plain fact insists on service as the highest value. If you take issue with Chris, I've got a novel idea. Delete your social media accounts, sit with your own defects of character, work on them, then celebrate your humanness." Then he added Pratt in it and hashtag got your back. So, this whole Chris Pratt thing is kind of was blown out of proportion, I think, really. It's all started from a tweet from a woman called Amy Berg, who was literally just I think it was a bit of a joke, just being like, which Chris would you get rid of out of the famous Chris's group? Chris Pratt, Chris Pine, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans is the last one I was thinking. Which one was the last one then? And then it kind of blew up and people got a bit carried away, I think. And then it ended up with people just saying, cancel Chris Pratt, because, I spoke about this yesterday and I just wanted to, Robert Downey Jr. is a big voice in Hollywood. He played Tony Stark. He was Iron Man. He kind of was the Marvel Cinematic Universe for a long time. He's one of the biggest names in Hollywood, one of the most recognizable faces of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and just him coming out in support. There was a lot said about Chris Pratt not attending a Joe Biden rally that all the other members of the Avengers did. Again, it's all to do with political beliefs, and I'm pretty sure it's obvious Chris Pratt's not a Democrat, but that doesn't mean you should cancel him. And it's like he just immediately assuming that he's a Trump supporter And there are a whole load of other reasons, you know, his links to his church in LA and things like that. But it's just like, after a while, I think just cancel culture in general is terrible, and it doesn't give space for nuance or different ideas or just discussion in general. Or, yeah, it's not good. It's not good for people's mental health. The people involved in it, the people who are being cancelled, is terrible. And it's just something that we have to be really, really, really careful about. And Twitter is a great place for lots of things, but it's terrible for that. And I think I'm actually really glad that Robert Downey Jr. came out in support, because I don't think anyone else did. And that was also kind of building up kind of tension, I think, and people kind of thinking, oh, why have none of the other Marvel actors come out in support of him? But he's the biggest. I think he's the biggest one. And if actually all the other Chris's could come out in support of Chris Pratt, that would be really, I think, really good. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about this whole Chris Pratt being cancelled thing? Let me know in the comments below. And on that note, I'm going to end tonight's stream. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm Edward Lauder. You can follow me at EJ Lauder. You can follow Small Screen everywhere online on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at Small Screen GB. You can also write for us if you're a fan of the site and you love talking about pop culture. You can email the website at hello@small-screen.co.uk. Send me pictures. I've had loads of brilliant pictures and loads of brilliant articles up on the site. We have fantastic writers, and I say that every time, but I really mean it. I feel very, very humbled by how many people have written, and how many people have written brilliant stuff, and how many people want to write for the site. It's really, really fantastic, and I'm overwhelmed, and it's just wonderful. And if you want to subscribe as well, you can do that as well. And I release this as a podcast as well every couple of hours after this is live. And if you don't like watching videos, or on YouTube or Facebook, you can listen to it in audio form. And that's at Small Screen Stories, everywhere where you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Thanks. Goodbye.